My name is Shelley Ziegler, and I'm one of the library consultants here at MLZ, and I'm also on the social media team. And with Elizabeth Scott and Christina Kelly and Katie Gill, Elizabeth is a reference librarian and also our head of social media altogether, social media librarian. And Christina Kelly is our public relations director. Is that correct, Christina? Coordinator? I was trying to read your lips. Coordinator.
Good job.
Yeah. And then Katie Gill is a cataloger, correct? And today we're going to be talking about different aspects of social media for small libraries. And I'm going to do the introduction. So let me share my screen. You all can see that? Yes? Thumb up?
Yes.
Thank you. So like I said, we are all on the social media and marketing team. Minimize this. Let me just bring up the chat over here so I can see it. And we all do something different, and I'll tell you what we do. Oh, also just a few things I want to tell you all up front is this webinar is being recorded, and the PowerPoint will also be available afterwards for you. So don't feel like you have to take, like you have to wear your hands out trying to take crazy amount of notes if there's anything interesting that you want to take notes on. So you will have access to the PowerPoint and the recording afterwards. And there will be, it is a 2-hour presentation because we have a lot of content that we had a hard time breaking down because we wanted to share a whole lot more. But there is a 10-minute break as well. So, and please go ahead and ask your questions throughout the presentation. Don't wait until the end. I mean, it's fine to ask questions at the end, but we also want you to ask them throughout. You can ask them in chat, or you can just shout them out if you like. All right, here's what we'll be covering. We'll be covering Facebook, and that will be Elizabeth, and that's actually her, that's what she covers here at the Library Commission. She is the person that runs our Facebook account. And then I'll be covering Instagram. I'm the person that runs our Instagram platform. And then Katie will be covering Twitter. And then Christina will be talking about how your library can create a simple social media plan. And by that, I mean looking at what platforms you can tackle. And a good rule of thumb for small and rural libraries is do one thing and do it well. It's better to start with one platform and do it efficiently rather than do a lot of platforms and do them badly. So we'd like to encourage you to start off with that. And then a word about change. Social media has changed so much since it came on the forefront. It has changed and it will continue to change. So has libraries, and our library users have changed, and they will also continue to change. One thing that I'm sure all of you have noticed is that since the COVID pandemic, the way that we use social media for libraries has definitely changed. A lot of our users come to our social media now for more information about our communities, and we use it more for programming now. So I don't have to say really a whole lot more about how the pandemic has affected social media, because we all lived it and we're still living in it. And also keep in mind that social media users have a very limited attention span. Most of us are probably social media users. And small and rural libraries have limited time, personnel, and budgets. I'm sure that is true across the board. And social media is not one size fits all. What works for one library will not necessarily work for another library whatsoever, because it changes depending on the amount of staff you have, the size of your community, the type of people in your community. Then I want to talk about social media policies. It's very important that a library system have a social media policy. But it's also true that a lot of library systems do not have a social media policy. The one main reason to have a social media policy is to have a clear definition of when and why comments are removed on your social media, whatever that platform may be. And that needs to be a policy that's followed very clearly and fairly. For example, you might state in your policy that you will follow the same procedure on your social media that you would follow in your library, your patron conduct and behavioral policy. For example, you will not tolerate any type of personal attacks or bullying. I know on ours we have that we will delete any type of sales comments or false and misleading information. So that's like the big issue to have a social media policy. Some libraries have social media policies because they clarify internal and external use. So they'll explain how staff can use social media, both at work and outside of work. And what I mean by that is when staff have personal social media accounts, some library systems state that they have to disclose that they work at a library and that the opinions that they hold and they state are not necessarily those of the library system that they work at. It all just varies depending on the library system. And like any policy, policies are created by the library director and by the library board. And I have a couple of good policies that I think are great guidelines, and are also, I have a link to WebJunction, and it's a good tutorial on how to create a social media policy. I'm going to put it here in the chat, and I think I copied it. So let me cross my fingers here and see if I have that in here. Yeah, there it is. Any questions about what I've said so far? Nobody? All right.
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. All right. So that's just a quick opener. And let's see. Let me stop sharing. And now I'm gonna turn the table over to Elizabeth Scott, and she's going to talk about the wonderful world of Facebook.
Hey, Facebook. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Let me do the sharing my screen thing. We practiced this.
You can do it, Elizabeth.
I can do it.
I
I can do
I
it.
have full faith.
Here it is. I found it. Ta-da. And then, ta-da. All right. So I'm Elizabeth. I've been doing social media for about 14 years, which seems like a really long time. Now that I say it out like that, let's see. Let me move this so I don't keep. All right. So Facebook is the one that everyone, for the most part, has been on for the longest time period because it's been around for the longest time period. Mark Zuckerberg, he launched it in 2004 for colleges, and everyone could get on starting in 2006. And man, it has just exploded. And despite privacy concerns, things like that, this is still where so many people go. Yeah, social media is, Facebook is, it is king. The thing that I like most about Facebook is they have the built-in analytics, they have the scheduler, everyone's on it, even people who don't use it, they're on it, if that makes sense. And it's just a great way to spread the word about your library, and get yourself out there. So, and it's a great way to reach like just people in your neighborhood. Why is it not going to the next slide?
I had to use my direction buttons. Yeah.
That suddenly didn't work for me just because. So I'm just going to run over a couple of my favorite practices for Facebook. The first one is tagging. I love when people tag us. It lets us know that someone's talking about us, and it can lead to more interactions. So this from the Civil Rights Museum, they have tagged several people. So they automatically know that, look, I'm in this picture. And it's really easy to do. You just do the @ symbol and scroll down to the person that you want. So any questions?
There aren't any in the chat.
Okay. So alt text is a really great way to make yourself more accessible to other people. It is simply a way to describe your photos for screen readers. So for people who are visually impaired or just have trouble reading, it reads them out loud. So if you go into the Creator Studio, you can use the little pencil there. You click on that, and then this second screen will pop up on top of that screen, and you click on the alt text, and all you do is fill out a very short description. You don't have to include colors. Just a very basic description of what's going on in the photo so that someone who can't see it will know what it is. So there, any questions?
Nothing yet, Elizabeth.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Okay. Hashtags. These are really, really important for Instagram and Twitter. They have slowly made their way to Facebook. They make content easy to find, and they kind of categorize the content. So if you're looking for something about the summer reading program, you can click on Oceans of Possibilities or summer reading and see all the other things that come up under that banner, so to speak. For an accessibility thing, camel case hashtags are really important, and they call them that because they go up and down like a camel hump. So all you have to do is capitalize the first letter of each word, and then the screen readers can pick it up so that they know, oh, this is a new word. This is where I start reading again. I picked the cleanest, most sanitary hashtag blunder that I could find, and it's not even really a hashtag. There are some crazy ones out there. And if you're really interested, I suggest a Google search. But you do want to be specific with your hashtags to make sure that people know what you're talking about. Is it healthy burgers? Is it heel die burgers? What are you selling? And then also you kind of want to look before you choose a hashtag to see what else is out there that uses the same hashtag, especially if it's something really small like MLC. Might not be a great one because MLC could stand for so many things out there. So use your hashtags, but check into them first. Invites, this started several years back. If you have a post that's doing really well, like this one down here from Pike Commit has 20 likes or more than 20 likes. It's got 32 likes. So when you see something like that, you want those people who interacted with that post and said that they liked it to come back and see more of your page. So if you click on as your page, when you're on your page's feed, not, when you see your page out in the wild, you want to click on the numbers, and then you can invite people who don't already like your page. Not everyone will do it, but we have gotten a lot of likes and new follows from people who we invited. So pinning. Pinning is something that is really quick and easy that you can do to shuffle your content the way that people see it when they come to your page, so that something important is the first thing that they see. All you have to do is the little ... on the top right, just click on that and you can pin something to the top. It's great for summer reading programs, if you've got something coming up that you want people to know about, if you've closed for a holiday or, bad weather, you can pin things to the top. It's great for things like that. Yeah, pinning for if you're running a long-term thing like summer reading, that's a great suggestion that you pin how you get involved. So repetition is a great way to find content. Sometimes we'll wake up and we're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to post today. It is great to have every Monday you do a patron of the week. First Regional has been doing this patron of the week for years now. They usually connect it to something that the patron has come in to do at the library. So I've seen ones where they're like, oh, this guy comes in and he does research every week, and then they'll talk about their research resources. East Mississippi has this every Wednesday. They do what we're reading. People like tuning in and seeing the same thing over and over. Madison does like a first chapter reads every Friday. There's a library system that does like a reference question of the week. It does not have to be, you can just type something really easy and have like a question of the week, like, you know, fiction or nonfiction. It's a great way. People look forward to things, and you know, they want to see what you're up to. Sharing posts is a great way to get people in your community invested in you. They see that you're paying attention to them, so like, then they want to pay attention to you. So my boss explained it to me one time way back when we started doing social media. It's like, they give you a little candy and you're like, oh, look, now I have candy, and I give you some candy back. So tagging is especially helpful when when you're looking for things to share, because you know, it can be hard to go through, but it's nice to keep an eye on your close by businesses and organizations, especially if you've done something that that you know that they might share, so that you can reshare it. So like, neither of these posts tagged the library system, but they knew that they were going to be there, so they looked out for it and then they shared it. You can also be a little proactive, like if there's a new shop or something that opened that's near the library, tie it into the library, like a donut shop. Oh, donuts, and we have books about donuts, or we love donuts too. Stop by the donut shop and then come see us. Bring us donuts. So story time. Stories are big on Facebook now. They can be static, where it's just a picture, or you can use a video. You can add a location. Washington County, they like to add music to theirs and hashtags. This one by the bookstore I thought was really pretty, because it's a little video where she just flips through a couple of the pages of the picture book. So they're really easy to do. You can just throw a picture up there and put a little effect and just let it go. But then people will see your story on other places on Facebook, and then they'll come back to like maybe click on your profile or to learn more. Facebook is trying to launch Reels, where it's more of kind of a video TikTok sort of thing. They haven't launched it in all areas yet, but putting a quick video together of a couple of books on your shelves is something that you can do in just a couple of seconds. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just like a, hey, look, this is what we have. So people love seeing people in pictures, and sometimes our staff don't like to be in pictures, and so it can be really hard to get people involved. So we found that it's easier to get people involved if they don't actually have to show their faces. This picture on the left of our acquisitions librarian, Betty, did so well on all three of our platforms. And Betty only agreed to be in it if we stacked those boxes up so that we could not see her face. But you know, it was a great sell. Like, look, we're going to have new books. Come to the library, and oh, Betty, save Betty. Book Face Friday is a great one for people to do, where you can hide behind a book, but you can also have people. We had a post where it was just a couple of books, like Pulitzer Prize winners, and we had Lawrence's hand standing on top of them. And it brings a little warmth and humanity to your posts that aren't just like, oh, it's just a book. So, and sometimes the best thing is just to post something quick. People like asking questions or answering questions. This one that we had, where we had people describe the last book they read, y'all, they did not describe the book in 5 words or less. But people loved answering that. They loved getting in there and talking about their book. And then the Northwest Community College, the Resource Center, they found these things in a book and they shared them. They blocked out the patron information and said, hey, look, you know, and they tied it back to the community for the football games and have you been? And so if you just want to, like, you can show off a receipt. If you block out the names of like, hey, these make great bookmarks or something like that. If you cannot think of anything to say, because really posting once a day on Facebook, that works for us. Sometimes we'll do 2 a day if we're sharing something. But any sort of announcement, local history, if you have local history pictures, tie in your elected officials, just anything like that. And of course, books. You can always talk about books. And that is it for me. Does anyone have any questions about Facebook?
You can feel free to unmute yourself if you would rather say it than put it in the chat.
Stop share. If you have any questions in the future, or if you think of something and you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everyone, you can always email me. So, and up next is Shelly with Instagram.
All right. So Instagram. I like the logo for Instagram. It is it's changed a few times over the years. You guys can see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm always worried, I always ask. But it's always been an old Polaroid camera. Instagram has always been about photos. Recently, it is also about videos and reels now, but it's always been very visual, and you have to have a photo or a video now to post something or a graphic. So let's get going into Instagram. So Instagram has posts in your feeds and stories. Stories last for 24 hours and then they disappear. So what can you post to Instagram? You can post original content, and I'm going to talk about each of these. Branded content, professional organizations, community and government organizations, book-related websites and blogs, pop culture memes and jokes, which I like to refer to as fluff pieces, quotes and videos. And when I say fluff pieces, it doesn't mean that they aren't important. It's just that just sums them up so eloquently, I think. So original content, what is that? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's content that you create in-house, that you create yourself. Original content can be, and this, some of this in our presentation today is going to overlap Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but open-ended questions, if you take your own photos, if you create infographics, if you use the templates that you can get online, teasers that you might create for programs, like we have an upcoming program, watch out, we have something big coming up. Pictures, again, that you take yourself of displays, of programs, of new materials. We here at MLC, we really like to take pictures of new books. It's in a stylistic way. Don't just like throw them on a table. You can, but that's not appealing. We also have a reoccurring one that we do with staff. It's called a Meet MLC Monday, where we introduce new staff on Mondays. So these are examples of original content. I've got the chat up, and I should put that away because I keep looking at it.
I'll let you know if there's a question.
I always feel like I'm missing out on fun, like banter in the chat. So here are some visual examples of original content. I have these. Okay, so on the left here we have all red books, and I can't remember. This is an MLC photo that Elizabeth probably took that one because she does a lot of our pictures and setups, but I can't remember what we said, but
I think we went through and I took pictures
you did
of
different colors.
Different colors, and I
Yes.
just slung them in a folder and let y'all do whatever you wanted with them.
Yeah, and we like made up different little lingos and things. But that's kind of what you don't have to think too hard about it. You don't you can have fun with it, but yeah, that one was fun. The second picture here is one I didn't steal it. I borrowed it online. It was when there was a school that visited a library and they sent thank you cards. And so they took a picture and then they posted it. I think that's just perfect. And then we have here, oops, I did something weird. It's that stupid chat. I'm going to get rid of it. Cooking in Madison County, where they have a cookbook club, which if you like to cook, that sounds great, but I do not. And so they created that themselves. One thing I'm going to say here is that Canva is your best friend, and you can get a free version of it, and it is super easy to learn, very user friendly, and it can make a graphic look super professional. You can also lose yourself in Canva. You can lose time. You can go down the rabbit hole. So, as there's so much to it. But be sure, if you don't have a Canva account for your library system, you should get one. And we'll be offering. We've offered Canva training in the past, and we'll be offering it again in the future. Branded content, it really overlaps with original content because, excuse me, it's content that you also create yourself, but you slap your brand on there. So you'll notice that these are all library systems. I put MLC on there too, because I have to always brag on us and our hard work. But these are library systems here in the state that have a library logo. And so for whatever graphic they have, they will, they'll put whatever graphic or whatever message they have, and then they'll put their logo on there. So it's just a good way to help your users remember you and remember where this content came from. And it's not hard to come up with a logo, and we are more than happy to assist if you need some assistance with creating a logo. I know Elizabeth has done it more than once. Is that correct, Elizabeth? She's really good at it. I am not the greatest, but she is.
That is not true. You are just fine at making things.
But you are better. Professional organizations. Be sure to share your professional organizations that you see on Instagram. One, it's just good to be involved and to pass on the good word of what's going on. I put one here of, this is MLA in 2020. I try to take examples from all over. Then you have ALA coming up, and then this is American Association of School Librarians. But be sure to, there's a lot in Instagram, there is a lot of sharing that goes on that, so I think it's important for library systems on Instagram to share what's going on in the library community, both locally and nationally. Not just because you should, because we are all invested in libraries as a whole, but it will also, if you do it on a continuous basis, you'll likely get more followers. I don't want to harp on doing things just to get followers, but that is one way to do that. And community and government organizations. I particularly really like MDOT's Instagram account. They are both informative and hilarious. They, you would not think they would be a witty bunch of people, but they are. Particularly around Christmas time, they put up some really funny posts. But they're always good information. So if you don't follow them on their Instagram, I encourage that. And the CDC is just good information for the public at large. And then I found this really, really just good community information from the City of Jackson's Instagram site. So look and see if your community or your town has an Instagram page, and start sharing those, because libraries, we don't want our Instagram page just to be about our library programs. We want it to be where our patrons come to get information about the community, because libraries are for information about everything. So it's not just about story times. It's about what's going on in their town. And then, so this is the fun fluff, which I do love. I do. I adore it. But I am going to say this. A little goes a long way. So don't flood your Instagram feed with a lot of memes and pop culture. It's good to lighten up the mood of your Instagram account for your library and show your patrons that libraries are fun and you do have a sense of humor. But these types of graphics and content work better on a story, not necessarily on your feed where they would live permanently. But I do love a meme. There are some wonderful library memes out there. So, but just keep in mind that your Instagram page for your library system should not just be chock full of these. And then quotes. Here at MLC, on our Instagram, we do a Saturday bookish quote, and that's what this yellow guy here is. That's an example of one that we did. We do that every Saturday, and that goes back to what Elizabeth said about, I think the title of her slide was Pete and Repeat, which I think is funny. But so one, you've got Pete and Repeat, so we don't have to think about what we're going to post on a Saturday. Not that you have to post on a Saturday, but here's a reason why I have given that I think it's good to post on a Saturday or to schedule a post on a Saturday. It keeps in people's mind that the library exists. So the reason I think it's kind of nice to have oftentimes our quotes are fun. Sometimes they're kind of serious. It just depends. But it keeps it in people's mind like, oh yeah, here's an interesting quote. Oh, the library commission. Yeah, I know about them. So it just while the weekend's going on and people are going about their business, doing other things, and it just keeps you, and it keeps the library system, in your case, on people's minds. So you don't have to post anything serious necessarily, but it's just like a placeholder in a way. So then I grabbed a couple others that I liked that I saw on Instagram that I thought was neat.
Shelley, I called it feeding the feed.
I like that, feeding the feed. Yeah, that's a good. And I'm going to say something else here about, I actually stole the idea. I didn't steal it. I borrowed it. I borrowed the idea of creating bookish quotes for Saturdays from another library system in New York State that does it. And I attended a presentation at ARSL, Association of Small and Rural Libraries, and they talked about doing that just to keep the library on people's minds. And that was probably like, I don't know, like a year and a half ago. And since our quotes are pretty popular on Saturdays, but my point is, it's okay to borrow ideas from other people. If you see libraries doing something cool, don't take what they're doing like verbatim and do it, but take the idea, the essence, and make it your own. And that's fine. I think as libraries and librarians, we're all about sharing. So, and I actually told the librarian that did that training that I borrowed her idea, and she was really happy about it. She was really shocked that someone thought her idea was interesting enough to steal it. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. So when to post on Instagram, at least once a day. It's great if you can post twice a day. Smaller libraries, I know it's hard to do twice a day. So once a day is great. Try to avoid, in fact, do avoid rapid fire posts. Don't post a bunch of stuff like 2 or 3 posts in a row. Don't do that. Nobody likes that. But also don't ghost your audience. I've seen library systems Instagram pages where they'll post and then they don't post for a year. Well, you're going to have a hard time ever reviving that Instagram page. It's because you've lost your audience. Or don't post once a month or something. That's if you're going to do it right. And like I said at the very intro to this presentation, if you don't have the time or the staff to do more than one platform, just do one and do it well. Don't tackle a bunch, and choose the one that most of your patrons are using. I can't stress that enough. Also, it takes a lot of trial and error. Even when I'm posting to Instagram, like the times I post, like sometimes it changes. Like I think early in the morning is a bad idea, but sometimes it works. And then recently I found out, I used to think that posting in the afternoon, like 3, was not a great time, but I started posting at 3 in the afternoon, and now it seems to get a lot of attention. So you just, as I said earlier about change, things change, people change. You just always have to kind of monitor it and see when people are responding and what kind of engagement you are getting. Let's see, scheduling your posts. So this will save your life. It will save your life so much. So there's several different ways. In the interest of time, we don't have time to go and show you how to schedule your posts. But if you want to contact any of us and ask us specifically how to help you do that, we'd be happy to. There's Facebook Business Suite. There's the Creator Studio, which I think is different than Facebook Business Suite. Elizabeth's saying maybe, maybe not. She really knows a lot more. And then there's Hootsuite, which you can still use. It's kind of tricky, but it works pretty well. I like it. So you can post to multiple platforms on those as well. And that's how I post for our Saturday Insta post. I don't post on a Saturday, I'm off work. So I schedule it like during the week to post. It works, it seems to work out. And tagging and hashtags. We talked about this for Facebook, but for Instagram, it's very, very similar, but they're used a lot more in Instagram. You can tag people or businesses either within your post, within your caption, or in the photo. And hashtags are a good way to organize your posts. But with a caveat, I'll say the only way it really organizes your post is if the hashtag is a really unique hashtag. So I know a lot of people, when they get married, they'll have like a hashtag. Like I had a friend recently got married and her hashtag was like going greenly 2022 something. So, and they want everyone to put that on their photo, so you can search that hashtag and see all the photos that people took at their wedding and reception. So that is a cool way to find photos of a very specific event, but it has to be a unique hashtag, because if you have something generic, like we'll just say libraries, that's super generic. There's millions of photos that will be hashtagged to libraries. So I always talk about my dog in my presentations. I just can't help it. And I'm going to talk about him in this one. So for my dog, whose name is Rhett Butler, I do have a hashtag for him. And I double checked it last night to make sure it's still working, and it is. So he not only has his own Instagram page, but he has a hashtag, and it's Rhett Butler the dog. And so I checked his hashtag, and there's like 2 other photos of other Rhett Butler dogs, but other than that, it's all him. So I'm pretty excited. So that's a way to, so I was able to organize my dog photos, but anyway, I have to talk about them. So
Shelly, we have a question in the chat. Somebody has recently taken over their Instagram that was maybe a little bit dormant, and they're trying to revive it. Do you have any suggestions on how to reintroduce their account? Elizabeth put in there about consistency.
I mentioned be consistent.
I mentioned maybe creating a post with a trending hashtag to kind of drive people to
I would also start sharing a bunch of other library systems in the state, and that will get them to start following you and liking your stuff, and so following other library systems and liking their posts, like all the time, like every day. Go to their pages and like their posts. What do you think about that, Elizabeth? You think that would be helpful?
Yes, because when people see that you're out there again, that you're doing things, they're more likely to come interact with you.
Yeah.
And
it's the whole candy thing, I think.
Right. It's always back to the candy.
Yeah. Elizabeth told me about the candy thing. I didn't know about that. And so she told me about that a little while, like a couple years ago. And
that's all Tracy.
Yeah.
And I had a question, Shelley, is concerning that Emily's question is that if the older posts do not reflect your current vision of
you can
the library,
delete them.
Yeah,
delete them and just kind of start anew. You can also change the handle, the name of your Instagram account, but I'm not saying you should do that, because people might be used to that name, but if they haven't been following it, it may not. So you might want to pick up, change the handle to something snazzier, maybe something easier. I don't know what your name is for your Instagram account, but that's something you can do also. I know I've done that with my dog, his account. That's great to talk about him again. I wanted to make his a little snazzy.
How hard is it to change your Instagram handle?
It's very simple. It's very simple. You just go into your edit profile information. You just have to make sure that it's just not a handle that someone else has. That's all. You can do it all the time.
I think we went through once and made sure that all the library commissions ones are pretty much the same across the platform.
Yeah,
so it's easier to
you
find.
Should be consistent. Yeah, if you've got multiple platforms for your library system, you need to make sure like they should all be as similar as possible. If they can be exactly the same, that's ideal, but you can't always do that because people have already taken over that name. But is that helpful to that person? Okay, hashtags. And then Elizabeth called them camel case. I call it camelback hashtags because I don't know, because camel's back. But they really do make a difference, because not only to people who have low vision, but just to all of us who have vision. It's just easier. Like my example, read this word. That's so much easier to read than the other example. Like the words don't run together. It's much more easier to read it. And also words don't turn into dirty words as easy as quickly, which you don't want that for your library system. So that's something else. And also I want to encourage you to put alternate text for people with low vision. And that's where you're describing the picture. That's for people who have low vision or no vision. And you're just describing, or if there's a lot of text in the photo, you're actually writing in what the text is in the photo. And then another thing, and this might also help that person that had that question. These are some handy hashtags to follow and to get ideas for kind of cool content to do. So these are some that we do here at the Library Commission that we use. But on Instagram, you can follow hashtags, and so they'll show up in your daily feed. And these are some that I like to follow. So I just wanted to put these on there.
All right. So what can you use Twitter for? You can use Twitter for basically all the same things that you can use Facebook and Insta for. Twitter is just a little bit different because compared to those other two sites, you could have a little bit more fun with Twitter. So with this, basically just assume that if I do not mention something like, hey girl, you didn't mention like partnering with local organizations or creating original content or whatever, you can do that. It is just, we only have a limited amount of time. I am not going to recover things that already have been covered. So programs, Twitter can begin to show off programs, materials, collections, etc. So the thing about Twitter is that it has a character limit compared to the other two sites. So if you want to do something to show off something, a good image can do just as much as a long description. And so here are some examples of programming on Twitter. So we've got Hancock County Library System. They're using hashtags. They've got all the relevant information as well on this Twitter graphic as well as the Twitter page. And Madison County, they've got a link to their Facebook page where this author talk will be held. Twitter is also good for keeping things current because you cannot search for previous things on Twitter. If it is not hashtagged, it is lost to the wild. If you want to post something up to date, upcoming events, closures, anything related to what is going on outside at this very moment, post it on Twitter. Twitter is good for things that are current. Twitter is good for things that are up to date. Like if you just finished the last episode of Stranger Things and you want to talk about it, what do? You go on Twitter. And so with keeping things current and up to date, you do not have to have an image with every post. With Twitter, you can post GIFs along with your tweets, and the GIFs will play. Obviously, it's not playing right now because it is a screen cap. But for example, Midmiss had to post something very quick and very up to date about severe weather. So they put a little GIF of a cute little bear that is getting blown away by a raincoat. not by a raincoat, by a rainstorm. I cannot talk today. And so on the left, you also have same things with the program. You've got the information in the graphic as well as in the tweet itself. So with Twitter, you could definitely have a unique voice. It's easy for platforms to be goofy as well as serious. So you can get across your information in a way that is a lot more lighthearted and fun than it can be on some of the other sites. Like think about, if you have a Twitter account, think about the brands and the stores and the libraries that you have willingly chosen to follow on Twitter. Like some of them you follow because it's something you care about. It's something you consume on a daily basis. Some of them you follow because the Steak-ups guy is just really funny. And so, for example, with Twitter, this is one of my favorite Twitter accounts, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, which is the account that you think would not have a very strong Twitter presence, but they do because they know how to work serious posts like this one about an invasive species notice and what the invasive species looks like, what these zebra mussels look like, as well as with these silly posts about do not let your wild animals inside your building. Cougars have fur. Do not let them inside. So both posts get their information across. They just do it in two different manners. And I am not looking at the chat as I talk about this. So if anyone has any questions or anything, Lacey, Elizabeth, Kayla, Christina, Shelley, please just rudely interrupt me and I will happily answer any questions that are coming up.
No
We were
question
talking-
so far. We were talking about the big kitty.
Yeah. And see, this is another thing. Whereas with Twitter, you can help build your brand by interacting with people. Like, and you don't even have to put that much thought into it. Like, look down there at the bottom, you see 3,000 replies. There is no way on God's green earth the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation will be able to respond to each of those 3,000 replies. However, with a handful of them, if you go in and click on the replies, you'll see that a lot of them are along the lines of, but I want to pet the cat. What if he looks very cold? What if I let him inside? And the respond with just like a gif of someone shaking their head and saying no, or just like, don't do this. And just that small little brief moment of interaction and keeping up the goofiness inherent in do not let the cougar inside your house can do a lot to help build your brand on Twitter. But says, yeah, have fun with it. You don't have to be super serious as long as you get your information across. On the left, we've got the Orkney Library in England, who is, again, another one of my favorite libraries on Twitter, doing a very silly post showing some items in their collections while making a Billy Idol reference as they do so. And then on the right, we have a meme that we made at MLC ages ago, back in 2021, when the Bernie Sanders sitting places went viral for a little bit. This is something that when we saw that that meme was becoming viral that day, when we saw that it was a lot of people were jumping on it, it was like, okay, I can whip this up in an online image editing program. I could essentially cut out Bernie Sanders from the image and drop him in our library, while also telling us, hey, we're still closed to the public, but if you want to do curbside pickup, do XYZ, because it was January 21 and the Rona was still going very badly at that time. So your unique Twitter features, there are a few things that Twitter can do that a lot of other social media platforms can't do. Nuts and bolts. Twitter only gives you 280 characters. That is less than you think. That is, you will be typing something out and then copying and pasting it and putting it on Twitter, and Twitter will be like, girl, you're over by 100 characters. That is less than you think. So a good image or video might be able to say more than the text does. So also keep in mind that the maximum video length is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So it's a good image or video that is also a short image or video. So with this, the Jackson Heims Library, Their Fannie Lou Hamer grab and go crafts. We've got a short video. Again, this is a screen cap, so we can't play the video, but the video shows you what the grab and go crafts are, what the kit is like, and importantly, they are using the hashtags. They've got their library hashtag right here, JH Hamer, and then they've got hashtag spring and hashtag Easter, because this was published around Easter in the middle of spring. And that helps bring this post into the larger conversation. So if you're looking for something about Easter, and there are accounts that will literally just retweet anything that is hashtagged a certain thing, that can be annoying, but that also means that if a post is tangentially related to STEM, I am going to tag it STEM, because that means that that post will get more eyes. It will get more people looking at it, because there are some accounts that I don't know if it's a bot or a script or whatever, but it says in the description, we exist solely to promote posts that are hashtag STEM. Here are some various useful reoccurring hashtags that you can use to join a conversation. Book Twitter and library Twitter are hashtags used by so many different people, just about so many different book and library content. MS Libraries is a hashtag for Mississippi libraries. Archives hashtag party is a Elizabeth, you're going to have to jump in on this because I do not remember the exact date. I think it's the first Friday of every month.
It's the first Friday of every month, and they don't issue it until it's what, the National Archives?
The National Archives, and they don't tell you what the theme is until like the day before, which is a nuisance. But if you are a library that has a hefty archives, if you are a library that also has a good search function for your hefty archives, then jumping in on archives hashtag party can be useful. And Ask a Librarian is a hashtag that is technically happening right now, because it happens at around, I believe, 11:30 to 12:30 CST. It is a general, a lot of libraries will pop on, use the Ask a Librarian hashtag. And if people have questions, they can ask that question and libraries can answer, giving book recommendations, promoting some of their programs, etc. And Twitter is different from Facebook and Insta in that it is okay to spam the Twitter. Like with Ask a Librarian, it is something that happens, it's an hour-long chunk. You can make like 3 to 4 or 5 replies or retweets or answers in that hour-long chunk. People are a lot more forgiving of rapid fire posting on Twitter than they are on other sites, because going all the way back to our Stranger Things example that I mentioned earlier, a lot of people use Twitter for like live reactions, and live blogging is the technical term for that, where you react to something live. And a lot of people use Twitter for things like that. So people are more forgiving of bam, 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 rapid fire image posts or rapid fire posts in general on Twitter than they are at other sites. This is still a know your audience situation. Like people might not enjoy your live blog of this conference that you're going to. And you might just have zero response if a live blog of this conference you're going to. But if there's something neat happening, like a debate that is happening at your library, a town hall that is happening at your library, something like that, like an interview with an author that is happening at your library and not being recorded, something like that, live blogging that is something that Twitter is very good for doing. Retweets. Retweeting is Twitter's version of sharing. It is taking a tweet from another account and showing it to your Twitter followers. It's good for promoting events from local businesses, library associations. As you can see right here, Mid-Mississippi retweeted this Visit Mississippi post about the Grammy Museum, because the Grammy Museum is in their jurisdiction. And it is something that you can do to help broadcast and share information to your followers. This is another thing that Twitter can do. And I think this is either my last slide or my second to last slide. So get ready for your presentation, Christina. But this is, yes.
there is a Twitter question.
Ha, hit me up.
All right. So in the spirit of the account resurrection question for Insta, do you recommend anything specific for Twitter to get lost audiences back?
With Twitter, I do think that posts with the Insta answer about like jumping on trending hashtags, making sure you post regularly. But with Twitter, it is some of our best posts on Twitter that have gotten the most eyes on them on Twitter have been goofy memes. So with Twitter, obviously you don't want to make your account be all goofy memes all the time. But if you want to do something that can help get eyes on your account, crafting a very fun, goofy meme that can tie into your library or tie into what some of your current programming is, that is also, it can tie into, but it's universal in a way. Like one that we did recently on the MLC Twitter that got a surprising amount of traction is a meme about summer reading program and the Pizza Hut program that people did. If you were a millennial like I was, you read a whole bunch of baby books when you were 6 because you wanted Pizza Hut. And so doing something like that is relatively universal, because nothing is truly universal, but could help get people's eyes on your platform. And once they have eyes on your platform, that's when you come in with, hey, we've got Learning Express, or hey, you want to book our meeting room? Here's how you can do it. And so a thing that another feature of Twitter that's unique to Twitter is threading. So threads are good for exploring longer form content or longer form stories. It is because with Twitter, when you reply to a tweet, it starts a thread of conversation of just bam, 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 bam. So if you are doing a thread, which is good about getting out information, long information, changes, anything that might take up more than your 280 characters, it's good to put it in a thread. But you always need to make clear when you start a thread, either that by doing an emoji of a spool of string, the phrase, a thread, one out of however many posts you think this thread will take up, time for a story, etc. And always make it clear when you're continuing the thread, like with Jackson Hines Library over here, they have CONTD, continued, and then always make it clear when you end a thread, end of thread and 6 of 6 posts, etc. Because that way, that is telling everybody, hey, this is all the information you're going to get from this. And people aren't expecting more than what they have. And that's all I've got for Twitter. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, which I will now actually look at for the first time by holding presentation. And yeah, Canva does have a background remover that isn't half bad. I also use, if there is something that Canva cannot do, or that I have trouble figuring out how to do in Canva, Pixlr, Pixlr, is a website that I will use, because sometimes the one thing that I don't like about Canva is that I have not found a good way to just resize like individual images when you're working in Canva, because Canva is very big about like templates for creating things for your social media. But if it's something where it's like, I just want to crop this image so that it's just this dude's head showing, or like the middle half of the image is great, but the other 2/3, Pixlr is what I will do. I will upload the image in Pixlr and then tweak it there before dropping it into Canva. Canva is also good for short videos. Please do not pet the cat. And that's it about Twitter. We're going to kick it over to Christina now, who is going to talk about creating your more social media stuff that is less specific to specific platforms.
So we're going to take everything we just learned and kind of like mash it up here. I'm going to wrap all this up. So let me share my screen. Can you guys see that?
We can see it. We're just waiting for you to make it kind of full screen or whatever.
Here we go. Like that.
Yes.
Looks good.
So are you seeing the correct screen? Because I had some problems earlier.
It's correct, Christina.
Excellent. All right. So hi, I'm Christina. So this stuff can get really deep, but we're going to try to distill it down to some key areas that you can focus on, just the basics. So if you need anything or have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. Well, that's all great, smart goals, but I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just don't have time for all of that. So, and it can feel like a lot. So we want to start with the end in mind. Why am I posting this? Who am I trying to reach? What am I trying to accomplish? What end result do I want? We recognize that you may not have time to really go deep in the analytics or doing long form videos. So focus on just keeping it simple. And I think several of the other presenters have said that as well. Keep it simple. But you do want to be able to show the impact of what you're doing. So follow up and tracking is important. So we want to create easy, trackable goals. Decide what is important for you and your library, what is important to your board and your supervisors, and track that. You can create a spreadsheet to record numbers for before and after, and don't forget to update it. So here in the slide, you can see, grow your audience. What are some key performance indicators? Engagement, comments, shares. Did you increase your followers? Increase of traffic. And this is not just for your social media, but did it perhaps increase event attendance for you? So did your promotions that you were doing for library card sign up, did you show an increase over previous years? Things to think about, things to track that would be easy. So here's an example. I have to keep track with snapshot day. So I went back and I found all the previous year's numbers and created a spreadsheet for Jennifer and for myself, so I can see where people are going. This is only one piece of it because I also have it broken down by library who have participated. But I'm going to keep updating this after this year's snapshot day in July that everybody's participating in, right?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So who are your target audiences? Who are you creating the post for? Who are you trying to reach again? There will probably be a lot of posts that are really general, but not every post is for everybody. And that's where you start thinking about how, segmenting your patrons into different groups. Again, not everything you post is for everybody. So you want to make your posts as personal as possible. And this might mean multiple posts for whichever platform you're on. So, are you looking to reach your adults? Are you trying to your seniors, your teens, parents? So something to think about when you're crafting your posts for your social media. I am going really fast here, so tell me if I need to slow down. So here's some analytics for you guys that you have access to if you're using Facebook. So this is your fans. These are people who like your page. So as you can see, it breaks it down by gender, breaks it down by age group that you can look at. But what I think is more important is the people that are engaging on your page. These are people who have actually done, liked, comment on any of your posts. So, and if you can see that it's a little different, so that the women post ended up engaging more on this Facebook page than the men, so that it increased slightly. So that's something to think about when you're looking at your analytics. And this is just a small piece. Facebook has a lot. And if you have questions about that, please reach out to Elizabeth because she's all over that. But I like this thing to look at to see my age groups. So this is Instagram. This is one of the things from Instagram. What I found interesting about this is that here's my age range versus men versus women who are on this page, who are following the page. But when I clicked to break it down, I was shocked to see that I had so many more men, 45 to 54, following this. And I was like, okay, so let's think about how do I craft a post to really get them more engaged into what I'm posting on Instagram. Just interesting little tidbits here. This is still Instagram. You can see accounts engaged, and an account is like, you know, if Rhett Butler liked my post or something. I did find it interesting down here. I had 5 non-followers who liked the post, and so I'm like trying to figure out, well, how do I reach them to get them, you know, to go like my page, my Instagram page. Again, you can break it down gender and by active times, which I believe Shelley mentioned, like when are people getting online? And I love that afternoon 3 p.m. slump where everybody's like, oh, break time. Let's go see what's happening on Instagram. So that's when people are, for this account on Instagram, looking at stuff. All right, so I am not a Twitter person. I've never been. I got an account way back when. I still pine for MySpace, but I don't think that's coming back. But Twitter is interesting. Twitter does not have audience insights. They removed it in 2020. Silly Twitter. But there's a few things that you can do on their analytics that could be helpful to you, and that's the top media tweet, the tweet with a photo or video that received the highest number of impressions. And then you have a top follower, the account with the highest follower count that followed you for the month. And this is the point where you probably want to think, okay, what personalized post can I do to tag them to increase my reach? So, you know, if you have a post that you think, oh, well, who is this over here? So the American Library Association has this going. Maybe I can tag them. They're my top follower this week. What else can I reach out to them and tag them in to expand what I'm trying to do here? All right, so develop and clarify your language. So we are looking at which platform is most used by your audience. Are there more people following you on Facebook or Instagram? So if you have multiple platforms, and it's okay if you don't, but which one are they really, you know, where are your followers at? So something to look at if you have more than one social media account. You probably speak very differently to the different segments of your population, to your senior citizens versus your teens. So you need to use language that fits your audience. So how you post, how you craft a post is going to be very different. Again, we're back to that. Every post may not be for everybody. So because you're trying to reach different groups of people. And each platform is unique. Posts on Twitter are very different to posts on Facebook as well as Instagram and all the other channels that are out there. So I find that Facebook has a slightly older audience on my accounts. Twitter is very, to me, very fast paced, you know, very out there. Instagram is, I would have said at one point, Instagram was for those people who like to look at food or decorations, but it's slowly trying to change what their prerogative is as far as who they're trying to reach. And finally, remember that social media is about being social. Make your post about building relationships. So this is that personalized and engaging content. So several, you know, Shelley, Elizabeth, and Katie all mentioned this, the need for consistency. You can set a schedule, but leave space for spontaneous posts. You know, so some examples that I've used in some of my volunteer work in the past is Training Tuesday, Throwback Thursday. I think we all know Throwback Thursday, things like that, things you might find in the archives that would be interesting to share. But consider getting creative. It's okay to get on camera. It's okay. You can do it. I believe in all of you. So get creative with those videos and maybe live streams. using Canva to create better graphics. And if something is not working, don't be afraid to try something else. You know, if you're not getting the reach on those posts and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're not getting any traction with it, it's time to do something else. So this is my bonus slide. I like this slide a lot. So this is ideas for you to use right now. So you want to think, what will make people stop and look at your post while they're scrolling? Oh, that's interesting. You know, what would make them click? And what would make them comment or share? So ask a question. So on Facebook, like Elizabeth showed, you know, or about tell me in 5 words or less, your favorite book, you know, do you, I think at the conference Elizabeth and I went to, they mentioned like the best post was, how can any of you sleep with the air conditioning on and an overhead fan? You know, and apparently that was like the most viral post in this one class we went to. And I'm like, go ahead.
Another one of the viral ones were, tell me you're a blank without telling me you're a blank. So
yeah, you know, show me your stack of books. I don't know. You know, ask a question. Consider short videos about programs, services, reviews, etc. You know, live from the stacks. Create breadcrumbs with these little short videos in either your Facebook stories or your Instagram stories that relate to a post, so that you're posting several times, several different ways that people may look at. And get comfortable. It's okay. Let me tell you again, it's okay. You can get in front of the camera. I swear, it just takes a little practice. Include an interesting photo. So words are great. A photo is so much better. A photo's worth 1,000 words. And I'm a big fan of video. A video to me is even better than that. Little GIF, little video showing what's happening. Polls like this or that. So on Instagram, you can do polls. You can ask questions in your story. You can do this or that, like, do you like this book, you know, or this, like you do your Sweet 16 bracket, you know, this book versus this book, which one's your favorite? You know, there's things like that you can do in Instagram. You know, back to asking that question, what do you like? The first quote, stop saying it and show it. That is a quote from Marcus Sheridan in the book, They Ask You Answer, which is available on Hoopla. And so, you know, stop just saying it. You need to show it. And that can even be for your, you know, when you're trying to create value or show the value of what you're doing. And that's going to be important when you're trying to show how this is helping you down the road. So show the value of your program, of your services. What does that look like for you? Don't create more noise, create a conversation. Then that quote is from Jessica Phillips from Relationship Marketing. So, so this is where it gets a little tricky, you know, because sometimes you just don't want to load up your feed with a whole bunch of junk. You know, again, there's a purpose to this. There's a reason for this. So if you're struggling to post something, perhaps that's the good time to share something of the community. Maybe that's the time where I'm just not sure yet. Let me share something that is of value to my community from somewhere else, that repost, that regram that you share. Again, you're looking at that conversation. You're being social. You're just not, you don't want to really just junk it up with stuff over and over again. Make sure there's a reason for why you're posting it. And then real quick, back to value. Shelley, would you put that calculator in the chat, please?
I did. I just
thank you. So any of you, those of you who attended the Angela Hirsch workshop, she included this and I immediately grabbed it and I was like, well, this is fantastic. If you want to show the value in, especially right now with everything that's happening in our country, you know, inflation, everything, and show the value of your library, Here, use that. That is a great link. And that's it. That was my quick, and let's get to it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I am here to help.
Thanks, Christina. That was great. That was a good summary. So that is our presentation. Why don't you stop sharing your screen?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have. So does anyone have any questions for us that they would like to ask us that you've been saving? Any dire questions for our wealth of knowledge here?
And as always, feel free to bother us over email if
Yeah.
you've got a question that you don't want to ask to the entire world.
The last slide in our presentation, which I didn't have Christina show, but it has all of our email addresses and our phone number. So when our presentation is sent out, you'll have that. And so you can contact any of us if you have more specific questions, and we'd be happy to assist you. So thank you so much for coming today. This is something, social media is very, and marketing is very important to all of us, all four of us. We all love to do it, and we have a big passion for it. So we love to help libraries. So thank you again for coming, and we hope that you took away something from this presentation.